Okay, so good night. Good night. So our we're not gonna start off with the topic. So tonight, so earlier today, actually, I started a video. I did a video. I did a video, and so I was talking in the video, and I'm not gonna talk about anything that I talked about, but I was talking in the video. And one thing that I was saying in the video that I did earlier today was, and it's not saved, so you can't go back and watch it. One of the things that I was talking about in the video was the credibility and the things that God, requires of people, kind of, whatever. And one thing that happened yesterday was, so yesterday I didn't preach. And, I called out of work. This is my job. Yesterday I didn't do it. And so it came into my head, hey, so then tomorrow you should do 2 videos to make up for today. And I was just like, nah. And in the video I said that. Earlier today in the video I talked about that. And so then during the video I tried to disconnect my speaker from the phone, and the entire video shut off and got lost. So that was the Lord telling me, hey, when I see the, so at first I thought it was just Sam, I thought it was just me telling me you should do 2 videos tomorrow because you didn't do yours today. So that was the thing that came into my head. And so I was thinking, okay, yeah. But then I didn't do it. And so then after that I started the video earlier today. I didn't plan on doing 2. Today. So I started on the one earlier today, and I was talking, and it was good. I was 25 minutes in before it just shut off. After it shut off, I was like, I don't feel like doing another one right now, so I just did it. Then later on, I was revisited with the, hey, I told you, you should do 2 videos today, and since you weren't gonna do it, I made you do it. So this is my second video. I had to make up for yesterday, and the Lord is that way. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That was my testimony. I have a lot of testimonies, but our main topic, I don't know what the main topic is gonna be, but we're gonna start talking about the protection of the Lord. The protection of the Lord, how God protects people. So today, I was somewhere, and I just saw something, and naturally in my mind, I'm gonna look to see, okay, what did I just see? And when I look back to see what I saw, somebody's body got in the way of it, so I didn't see it. And then it came to my mind, and I was like, hey, what you first saw was something inappropriate that I didn't want you to see. But my mind naturally just went to, I didn't know it was something inappropriate. My mind just went to, what did I just see? Let me look at it again. What did I just see? And then somebody's body just covered, so I couldn't see it. And it was just it was like, hey, I'm trying to protect you, okay? I don't want you to see it because you know how it's going to affect you. Like, oh, and it was like, wow, that's the protection of the Lord. And the Lord's not like that with everybody. Some people, he lets them just go off into high levels of sin. But me, the Lord was merciful to allow me to understand, hey, I don't want you to look at it because it was something that was inappropriate. Like, oh. And so I experienced the protection of the Lord. And as you age in the faith, you are supposed to experience the protection of the Lord. So, a 1-year Christian is not going to get the same protection and guidance and what's the word? Not going to get the same protection and guidance and and supervision as someone who's elder in the faith. You may say, what? So yes, I have talked about in previous videos how the higher you go, the more freedom you have. But then again, it's not really like that. So let's look at it in today's society. The president is at a high position of government. So he's high in society. And even after his presidency, he is still going to be closely watched and surveyed because of his position or his former position. This random guy is not going to be supervised and closely watched just because he's a low person in society. And it's the same way in the kingdom. Yes, you do get more privileges, but you are watched closely, and the protection that God has of you, over you, with you, on you, is greater than that of someone who isn't as committed or hasn't been saved long for a longer period of time. And this is because when you're saved for a extensive period of time, you've seen more. The Lord has allowed you to see more. So he's going to watch you closely. Like, you know things. So the president knows things. That's why the government is going to watch him closely. And this guy's going to be closely watched for the rest of his life. And with the, in the kingdom, the Lord is that way too. So, okay, you've been in the kingdom for this long. There are certain things that I'm going to watch you. You're going to have a higher level of my protection. We say, no, the one who's younger in the faith should have higher levels of protection. Just because it's like that in our warped world doesn't mean that that's how God is. So as you get older, your parents genuinely stop paying as much attention to you because they feel as if you're older. God is not that way. So, yes, God does pay attention to the newborns in Christianity, but they don't get as much high-level protection as the person who's been saved longer. So this guy has been saved for 20 years, and this person has been saved for 3 years. The guy who's been saved for 20 years is going to get more protection from the Lord than the one who was saved for 3 years. He's going to get more protection, and that means two things. Protection from sins because he's come too far. And because he's come too far, this is a hard topic to explain. Because he's come very far in his faith and he's grown so much, the Lord is not going to allow him to be given over to things that he's already overcome, if that makes sense. So this guy who's been saved for 20 years has defeated all levels of lust leading up to level 20. And so now, what's going to happen? Now, he can't go back to level 3. He's already beaten level 3, so God's going to just protect him. Now, God's just going to keep him protected. He's fighting with level 20 less, but level 19 less is not going to have access to him. Level 18 less is not going to have access to him. But the guy who's been saved for 3 years, he doesn't get as much protection because he hasn't proved himself. So as a Christian who's aged in the faith, you're supposed to prove yourself, and that's how you get more protection. You don't get more protection just because you're a newborn baby. Just because it's that way in our world doesn't mean it's that way with the Lord. So as you age in the faith, you are supposed to experience the protection of the Lord. And you're supposed to have miracles. You're supposed to live in the miraculous. So tonight at church, I was being greedy. I don't know if I was being greedy, but I saw a cookie, and I was like, man, and it looked good. So I looked at my brother, and I was like, hey, I was like, what is that? And he was like, oh, it's a cookie that so-and-so made. I was like, oh, let me taste it. And I gave it to him, and I said, hey, does it have peanuts or anything in it? He was like, I don't know, man. And I was just like, I still put it in my mouth, and I began to taste the peanut butter after I ate it. I tasted the peanut butter like, oh, it's peanut butter in this. And immediately, all these, ooh, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. I don't know what it was, but I just began to say, breathe on these slain. I don't know why I began to say that, but probably because that's what I read today in the Word. So I'm in Ezekiel, and I just began to just say, breathe on these slain, as I was feeling all of the allergic reaction fears. So I was afraid, man, I don't want to throw up in church. I don't want to almost die in church. No. So and then I just began to say, no. And I said Jesus, but then I began to just say, breathe on these slain, breathe on these slain. I don't know why, but that's what came to my head. And as I began to keep saying that, everything just went away. All of the itchiness that wasn't there, but that was being put there because of my conscience, went away. All of it just went away. And it was like, wow. You know, I was a little bit shocked, and then I began to think, maybe it wasn't peanut butter in it. And right now, I still think maybe it wasn't peanut butter in it. Like, you know, sometimes when I'm in the kitchen and I smell chocolate, because I just dislike peanut butter, it just smells like peanut butter. Like, it looks like peanut butter. It tastes like peanut. Like, you know, that's just how my mind works. Like, man, that looks like peanut butter. Like, no, that's chicken. Yeah, it looks like peanut butter. What? This tastes like peanut butter. That's chocolate. No, but it tastes like peanut butter. And that's how my mind works. So I don't know. It probably wasn't peanut butter. But in the event that it was, the Lord shielded me and protected me. So, you know, you guys already know what time it is. We're going to the seafood restaurant so I can eat all of the shelled fish because I'm allergic to that as well. So that's what we're going to do. But, you know, that's none of your business. The Lord as you age in the faith, you get protection and you get privileges. You get protection and you get privileges. So for me, my level of protection wouldn't be the same as the guy who's been in the faith for longer than I have, because I haven't been in the faith as long as that person has. I've been in the faith, but it hasn't been as long as he or she has, so their protection level is going to be higher than mine. And to you, that may not make sense. And to me, it doesn't make much sense either, as I'm trying to make it make sense. Because I'm trying to be sensitive to the voice of the Lord. So wait. Okay, I understand it now. Okay. I understand it now. It makes sense. Excuse that. That's my little sister. So, okay. So, yes, it makes sense. It makes sense. So, when you're older in the faith, God's going to watch you closely. You're going to have more protection than that guy. So, God, this guy who's been in the faith for only this specific amount of time, which is less, he's still fresh out of the world. So there are certain things that that God's gonna allow him to be given to, because he's not that far away from the world, if that makes sense. So what I mean is, this guy who's been in the faith for 2 years, sin is still something like it's okay if he falls at a young age. The guy who's 20, he can't fall like this in this area. So God's going to protect him from it. This guy who's already close. So babies, they fall. And they're babies. And they walk funny because, they're learning. If you see a 20-year-old man falling every time and getting back up and falling and walking funny, you're going to like, what's wrong with this guy? There's a level of protection that is around him that keeps you from falling at an older age than at a younger age. And a fall more, you're closer to the ground. 2 years old in the faith, you're closer to the ground. When you're 20 years old in the faith, come on now. You can't be falling like that. And so that's what I mean when I say the protection of the Lord. It works like that. It works like that. So I experienced the protection of the Lord. And you're supposed to experience the protection of the Lord, but you have to prove that you're faithful. So God's not just going to protect you just because you feel like you need his protection. So there are sometimes I'm like, Lord, why didn't you protect me from this? And I was like, man, you're not as faithful as you should be, so I'm not going to protect you from that. Once you start displaying levels of faithfulness, so that's why faithfulness is so critical. Because if you're not faithful like you should be, then there's certain levels of protection that you're not going to have because of your unfaithfulness. And you may say there should be, and you may think that it should be backwards, but really, no. And it makes sense. This guy who's ultra faithful, he's very faithful, the Lord's going to protect him from things that he cannot withstand entirely. God's going to protect this guy because he's faithful. So God's not going to give him over to those things. This person's not faithful. God's going to let him, okay, you're not faithful and you want to do everything by yourself, so I'm going to let you do everything by yourself. Or you want to do it okay, fine, go do it by yourself. And then when you fall, this 20-year-old guy, God's not going to let him do that. First of all, the 20-year-old guy who's 20 years old in the faith is going to be more sensitive to the voice of the Lord and more obedient. So his obedience and his faithfulness is protection around him. That's what you have to understand. So, okay, let's not use me. Let's use this person, James. So James is a kid who's always obeyed his parents, and he's never done anything outside of his parents. Not that, sometimes he didn't, okay, his mom said don't do this, but he did it. Not talking about minor stuff around the house. Hey, James, do your chores, but he didn't do it. I'm talking about ultra big bad things that kids do, that kids do, He didn't do none of that. And so when he's older, his obedience has built a wall around him. So because he's never did drugs growing up, drugs is not going to be something that comes into his mind to do, because he's never done it. So when he sees somebody smoking, he smells it like, oh, that's awful. And the other person's like, nah, man, this is good right here. Like, No, that smells, and he's gonna want to go away. His obedience is building that wall. So because he was obedient, his obedience built a wall around him where there are certain temptations that just can't come to him. So for the faithful, that's your protection. So this faithful guy, he's been so faithful that now there are certain temptations God's just not gonna allow him. God's not going to allow him to face because he's been so obedient. So God's like, yeah, that's a temptation, but nah, his obedience is a wall around him, so that protects him. So the more faithful you are, the stronger and the higher and the more expanded your walls are around you. So there are certain temptations that you just can't come to you, that won't even be a temptation. That'll be just weird. Like, so it's not a temptation, you know. But when you're unfaithful, there's a level of protection that you don't have. So I was like, man. So all of the temptations are coming at you, even the ones that you can't handle. Even the ones that you can't handle. You may say, well, no, God doesn't allow anybody to be put in certain circumstances that they can't handle. And while that sounds all, amazing and loving, like, yeah, God won't put me through anything that He knows I'm going to fail at, then why are there so many people failing? Why are there so many people failing? If God never puts anybody in any circumstance they're going to fail at, why do people sin? Because they're not faithful. So there are temptations that are thrown at them, that are shot at them, that because they're not faithful, it's going to affect them. If they were faithful, yes, then you can. If you're a faithful person, then you can say, yes, God doesn't allow me to be tempted more than I can handle, because it's your obedience and your faithfulness that's built a wall of protection around you. So now the temptations that you can't handle and then other kinds of stuff it's stopped. The impact is lessened by your obedience, by your faithfulness, and it doesn't even come to you. It doesn't even get to you because your obedience and your faithfulness is a wall around you. And that's also, weaponry. So when a nation comes against another nation that has high, strong, fortified walls, yes, you can shoot an arrow at the wall if you want to. But come on now. It's going to have little to no damage. Like, okay. You shoot a big rock, yes, okay, yes, that did some damage, but it didn't affect anybody inside the wall. It just hit the wall. It didn't have any long-lasting damage to anybody in there. It didn't cause any death. So if you're faithful and you're obedient, there are certain levels of access Satan just doesn't have to you because of your obedience and faithfulness. That's what I mean when I say God protects people who are higher, more faithful in the faith, because their obedience and their momentum in Christ has built up walls and protection around them, and it has taken access from the devil. So there's levels of access that Satan just doesn't have to this person because of their obedience. And then this person who isn't obedient, Satan has access to them because they don't have any walls to protect them. No walls of obedience, no walls of faithfulness, no walls of forward movement in Christ, of momentum. So there's none of that. So Satan can get there. I mean, I've used the example before. If you're on a motorcycle going 2 miles an hour and there's a big rock that's rolling up to you, it's rolling at you at, let's say, 50 miles an hour, you're gonna be hurt. You're gonna get knocked off the bike. If you don't, you're gonna die. If you don't die, you're gonna be seriously injured. But if you're in a 18-wheeler truck going 500 miles an hour and there's a big boulder that's rolling to you at 100 miles an hour, you're going to smash that thing. Yes, there may be some, oh man, my truck the front part, that messed up. Nothing's going to happen to you. First of all, you're protected by the weight and the momentum of this thing. And that's what your faithfulness and obedience looks like. And the more you're obedient, you're going to build up more momentum. The more you're faithful, you're going to build up more protection around you. So yes, you could be a Christian for a long time. Oh, I've been a Christian for a long time. I've built up 500 miles an hour on the motorcycle. Yes, but this boulder is coming at you at 100 miles an hour. You're still going to get hurt. It doesn't matter how long. Oh, I've been in the faith for a long time. That's my momentum. Yes, I'm going 500 miles an hour on a motorcycle. Yes, but the boulder is still coming at you at 100 miles an hour. And you're going to get hurt. There's going to be some collisions, some bad issues. But if you in an 18-wheeler, the more faithful you are, the more obedient you are, the more compliant you are to the Lord. That's building up security around you. So yes, this boulder's right there, but you're going to smash through it. You're going to smash through it, and that's how this is supposed to be. The more faithful you are, the less problems you're going to have, the less temptations are going to even be able to have a shot at you, the less the devil's going to even be able to have a shot at you. Yes, he's going to tempt you with things, but the more faithful you are, the less ability he'll even have to tempt you with things because you're so faithful. And God allows that. So this guy is really faithful. He's going to have this level of protection. This guy, he's not so faithful, so he doesn't get protection. He gets tempted above measure. He gets tempted above measure because the guy is not faithful. He's not faithful. What do you expect? He's not faithful. He's not faithful. And because he's not faithful, he's going to be tempted above measure. You know, he's like, oh, Lord, you know I can't handle this. But you're not faithful, so there's no obedience. There's no faithfulness to fortify you, to secure you in your position. There's none of that because you're not a faithful guy. And that's something we all have to understand. So faithfulness is key. Obedience is key. It's key. So be faithful, be obedient, and God, there's nothing that you're not going to be able to do. You're going to succeed. You are going to succeed if you're faithful and obedient. You're going to succeed. That's guaranteed. You're going to succeed in life if you are faithful and obedient to Jesus first and any authority that he's put in your life, second, third, fourth, fifth, so on and so forth. So the goal is faithfulness. The goal is obedience, high-level faithfulness, high-level obedience. The more faithful you are, the less you have to worry about. That's the less you have to worry about. So I love you all, and God willing, we'll talk within the next 24 to 48 hours.